I'm, of course, Victor Moan, the Amish entrepreneur from Kazakhstan.
What the hell is Victor Moan?
Yeah, Victor Moan, it's my side name. It's from my Amish days when I was churning butter and was one with the trees. So
Okay, everyone.
I mean, listen.
We all know Vic has never churned butter in his fucking life.
Oh, well, I mean, tell that to Ezekiel. Now, listen, while you were growing up in the backwoods of wherever the hell you're from, all right, killing possums and hunting deer and whatever you guys do, I was churning butter and putting a curse on technologies that I knew was going to doom future civilizations. And with social media, me and my Amish friends were correct. We should go back to those days. Well water, churning butter, living out the land.
I'm fine with living off the land. I'm fine with well water. I'm not fine with churning butter. You know, I'm already work a construction job. I don't need to get any skinnier than I'm already getting.
Listen, just join us and the children of the corn, all right? We're doing good things, all right? So anyways, we are here today to talk about Black Christmas, as in fact it is actually Christmas Eve.
Which means Merry Christmas, motherfuckers, because y'all gonna be getting this on Christmas Day, I'm sure.
My education of Christmas came from the movie Ernest Saved Christmas, all right? I'm just saying, gotta review that one day. Maybe next year, Ernest Saved Christmas. All the Ernest movies, really.
You have definitely failed.
This is a B-movie podcast. You can diss Ernest. Ernest goes to camp. Ernest scared stupid. Ernest went to jail. He went to Africa. He slam dunked.
I liked Ernest Goes to Jail.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Especially, was the villain played by the same actor?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim Varney.
Yeah, I was wondering why he looked so fucking familiar, too. I'm like...
Dude, when I was a kid, every time a new Ernest movie came out on video, I would... And most of them were straight to video. I would always get it.
I thought all of them were.
I think the first couple actually were like... Not like big movies, but I think like were relatively popular. But then he started doing a myriad of straight to video Ernest movies. There's like 10 of them. There's Ernest in Jail, Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Saved Christmas. There's a lot of damn Ernest movies for sure. They're all pretty good though. So
why you letting Ernest save the world? What happened to you? Why aren't you saving the world right now?
Got other things to do, so like this podcast. So
we can save the world with a podcast.
You think so?
Probably not, but that's besides the point.
You remember the movie Mars Attacks? Yeah, at the end, the way they got rid of the aliens was they played this one annoying song over the speakers, and the sound of the song was so terrible that it made the aliens self-combust and their heads exploded. Now, what if we take that, but instead of playing that song, they played our podcast over the airwaves, and thus eliminating all cancers and aliens and all bad things in the world? They all explode from hearing our podcast. What do you
just said our podcast was so shitty that aliens' heads would explode from the mere feeling of our vibrations going through their body into their ear holes to touch the little ear hairs that create sound in our heads.
Well, it didn't sound that bad in my head until you just put it out there in the world like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't want all that to happen. I mean, I was just thinking maybe our podcast can serve a greater purpose. That's all.
Oh, gosh, dang it.
Anyways.
Let's get back to this before we go on another tangent.
This is another tangent. This is our M. Night Shyamalan tangent last week. So we're doing Black Christmas because obviously it's Christmas season. We did Santa's Sleigh, which is the ultimate Christmas B movie. Black Christmas, I would say, is more of a traditional horror movie. But I got to put it up there with, like, you know, during Christmas time, this is a good movie to watch during Christmas time. It has a Christmas feel to it. I know it's not going to be all family friendly like Home Alone or the Santa Claus or Jingle All the Way.
What are you talking about? It's very family friendly. There's not that much gore.
Well, this was the 70s, not the 80s. So Halloween didn't have a nudity either, the first one. That was 70s. The 70s had class. They had integrity. They weren't about just the shock gore and the shock nudity that the 80s would become synonymous for with all those terrible slasher movies that substituted nudity and gore for story and good characters and well-developed plots. So this being the 70s, you get less of that stuff and more of the good stuff. Now, that said, this being a B-movie podcast, most of the time we're going to be talking about the other stuff. Today, because it's Christmas Eve, we decided to go with something a little more classier. Maybe a B-plus movie for once.
And if no one's picked it up by now, we are watching a 1974 film, not the 2006, and definitely not the 2019. Anyone suggests we watch that, jump in a hole.
And a hole that has a damn Tremors monster in the hole waiting to devour you alive.
Nah, because we needed it more painful than that.
All right, what if the mini snakes come out, though, instead of devouring them, they slowly eat off your foot, and then they make their way up your leg into your groin area, and then the snakes grab the groin area, and you know what I'm talking about, in that area, and snatch it off. How about that?
I'll take it.
All right.
That sounds better.
Well, you know, I hate remakes already, so now you're talking about a second remake. So there's 2 remakes of Black Christmas.
Now,
there's 2 of them.
There is.
Who the hell thought this was a good idea?
And to be fair, I don't mind the 2006 because it was somewhat the same, but also different to the point where it's literally not just a 100%. I like this movie, so I'm going to pretty much remaster it.
It was respectable.
Exactly.
It wasn't in the bottom half of remakes. It was in the upper tier, we'll say.
Right.
And the 2019 one, just terrible.
First, it's PG-13.
Oh my God.
So you don't even see shit.
What is that trend of horror movies now being PG-13?
They want a younger audience to watch it, but you can't do that with a slasher.
No.
The closest thing you get to a PG-13 slasher nowadays that's actually even watchable would be the first Urban Legend movie, and that was still rated R because of language. But notice how toned down it was when it comes to the actual kills.
I don't mind PG-13 if you're basically taking away the gore, as you said, taking away the gore and nudity, and you're adding in a shitload of suspense and good characters, and you're spending time on things. But we get horror movies that have neither of that. We don't have the gore and the nudity. We don't have the good stuff. We don't have good characters, good writing. So we're getting the worst of both worlds, basically.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, this Black Christmas, which was rated R for 1974, would probably be PG-13 now.
Absolutely. The only thing I can think of is language.
And there really wasn't even that much of it, except for maybe the Den Mother.
Back then, it was a little bit of a shorter hook for language, so
right.
A couple of bad things would get you an R rating. So now you have a much bigger leash on that, I think. So probably could probably play on the CW right now. So honestly,
right, and with no censorship, minus again as you brought up language.
Yeah. So yeah, 1974. So what's known about Black Christmas, just to give it some historical context, is that most people, especially horror fans, consider it to be the first real slasher movie ever. Now, you have Psycho, which was 1960, but Psycho is really not a slasher. It's more of a psychological thriller. You do have the one scene where the guy's obviously Norman Bates is stabbing the girl in the shower, but it's really not a slasher movie, and it doesn't have any slasher tropes. This movie, Black Christmas, though, watching it now in 2020, you can see where like 90% of slashers in the last 30, 40 years have borrowed something from Black Christmas. You can see how influential it is, like how all the tropes came from this damn movie. Even
especially
more so
like
than Halloween.
The phone call ones, which I even mentioned, Scream definitely took from that.
Scream took it.
When a Stranger Calls was practically a rip-off.
The fact that it's called Black Christmas, and then the next big horror movie after this was Halloween. So you have the holiday setting.
Which John Carpenter, I think, has said that he really enjoyed Black Christmas and wanted to make a horror-themed holiday also, but because Halloween was the next one coming up when he decided to make this.
As good as Halloween is, and we'll talk about it, Halloween borrows a lot from this movie also. You can tell the direct influence. So I feel like watching this today, felt like I was watching for the first time because I didn't remember a damn thing about the movie. I knew in my head I had seen it back in the day, but it had been so long, it felt like a fresh viewing. So I'm almost coming to it as like a new viewer, basically.
Same. I mean, I swear the last time I watched it was actually with you back when I was in high school.
And I don't remember that, but maybe it happened. So.
I mean, granted, that was, 10 plus years ago at that point?
So what's that to me, just watching it, first thing, opening credits, you see the name John Saxon. You're like, holy shit, John Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. He was in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee.
He's a renowned actor. Really well.
And actually what's bad is I watched a video that stated John Saxon's career was actually somewhat ruined because of this movie, because then they typecasted him after this movie as being pretty much a hardened cop in horror movies.
Well, he played the exact same role in Nightmare on Elm Street that he plays here.
Well, sort of. And at least with this one, he actually was more, he believed the characters more. Nightmare on Elm Street, he was more like...
Skeptical hippo.
Exactly.
Of his own daughter also.
Exactly.
Imagine that you're not suspect of like just random teens. Your daughter's telling you this and you're still skeptical. Not to
granted, at the same time, she is telling you a dream demon is pretty much trying to kill her, and I'd be like...
Hey, look, 9 times out of 10, that'd be complete bullshit. But in this case, she was telling the truth. It was a dream demon killing her and her friends.
Right, but still, it sounded more like... I liked how they did it in that one, but we'll get to that one.
Yeah, I don't want to stay too far on Nightmare on Elm Street. So, John Saxon being in this, that stood out to me first. Credit-wise, the rest of the actors, no name really stood out. I didn't know any other actors. Now, the movie opens with, really, we got the classic POV view.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really classic back then, but we got a POV view of how the killer actually gets inside the house, which I don't think I've ever seen that ever done.
Yeah, the movie could have easily took a shortcut and just cut to the killer being in the house.
Right.
Well, we see the killer approach the house. We see him looking for a way in. We see him strategizing. That's actually
while we're
pretty
also
detailed.
very slowly getting to know the characters that's going to be a part of the movie.
And the fact that they seem to live in the damn house from Home Alone. So maybe not the house from Home Alone, but that is a big-ass house they're in.
That was a beautiful-ass house.
Yeah, all the Christmas decorations, Christmas lights, Christmas
Can me take those down? I would still buy that damn house right now.
Just seeing that house establish the Christmas atmosphere for me. I'm like, oh, this is Christmas. And the environment, the atmosphere establishes Christmas right away, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah. And
a sinister Christmas, though.
Right. And then as the killer gets inside, he comes across a phone, which apparently, according to the story, this isn't the first time this man is called. But from the sounds of it, this may be the first time he's actually spoken to them. Because when he first calls them, the girl's like, hey, guys, it's the moaner again.
So he's been calling them, but the nature of the calls has changed or developed over time. And throughout the movie, continues to develop what he says on the phone.
Right, and if y'all pay, and make sure everyone pays attention when y'all watch this, pay attention to what he's saying, because that's the only clues you get to the killer's backstory throughout this movie.
Yeah. So we established basically this is a sorority house.
Sorority house, basically, yeah, it's pretty much a sister house to another fraternity that's on the same that's on the campus.
Yeah.
And again, we're just pretty much getting to know some of the characters. We meet Barb, we meet Claire, you meet Jess, who's our final girl,
who has a beautiful accent.
Oh yes. I mean, she was a beautiful woman to begin with.
She's attractive. She has a nice accent.
Granted, to be honest, all of them were beautiful women, attractive.
I was going to ask you, did you notice, were there any blondes in this movie? It was all brunettes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think you would have liked the 70s a lot more than the 80s. Because this clearly has none of the 80s tropes that we obviously went through the whole Friday the 13th series and saw all those tropes right in front of our faces. But
right.
Yeah, there was no blondes there. And then the thing you notice immediately about these characters is that they feel like real people. They're having real conversations.
I mean, they're still, in a sense, characters. You know what I'm trying to say.
But I disagree. I don't think they're caricatures.
Thank you.
Caricatures implies a parody of characters almost.
Well, to be honest, well, think about it.
They have their types, but they're real people.
But still, you get your mean girl, Barb.
She's an asshole.
Yeah, you get your mean girl. You get your innocent one in Claire. You get Jess, who's really more in the middle.
Yeah, she's not on the...
She pretty much, if you're playing a RPG, she's your center. She's pretty much the character you want to play as because she's both speed and power.
This predates Halloween, but Halloween established Laurie Strode as like the trope of basically the most innocent girl is the final girl. And I don't think Jess is that.
No, we find out later on that she's not as innocent. She's a nice girl. Yeah. But here's the thing: she has a boyfriend. They've been having sex.
So the have sex and die trope clearly is not here back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Barbara's an asshole. She has a line.
Can't rape a townie.
That's funny. I wrote it down too.
What the hell does that mean?
I was gonna bring out. I paused the movie and I said about something. I said, "What the hell does that mean?" And I was like trying to figure it out, and I was like, I still don't know what the hell it means.
Seriously, so what I did when I first heard this. Now, my wife usually she watches these movies with me. This time she was at work. We didn't I had to make brownies. She had to make cookies. We didn't have time for both of us to sit down and watch it, so I just sat down. It's free on YouTube with ads. Have fun. The problem I have with it is I'm sitting there watching it, and of course Claire's saying that's not cool to pretty much threaten kill this man because we don't know what he's capable of, especially since he's literally talking about raping these girls.
Well, yeah. So one thing I want to ask about too is so that first phone call we hear, the voice on the phone initially comes off as more of like a creepy sex offender, rapist type.
Right, because you don't...
It's not scary at first. It's like, whoa, this is like creepy.
Right, they're trying to establish that this is someone we need to be looking out for.
Yeah, but they react not like it's not like Scream where it's like, I want to slice your insides out. It's like, just some rapist type shit.
Exactly.
I don't want to repeat what he's saying, but some shit though.
Exactly. So then all of a sudden, they bring up Town's girl has disappeared, has been kidnapped, and reported to be kidnapped. And that's when Barb says, "Come on, Claire, you can't rape a townie."
And she says it not like in a fun, joking way.
No.
She says it matter of fact.
Yeah, and that's when I also had to pause this movie. I've never heard this before. I typed it in and nothing came up except for this damn movie. But anyway, so then after that, Claire goes off. She's packing because she's about ready to leave town. Barb's mother said that she's going skiing. Barb's like, well, am I getting to come with you? And then she offers the entire house.
There you go.
But then Claire denies it because she's already planning on going back home with her parents.
Yes.
Which...
Because Claire's the nice girl.
Exactly. So here we are. She's getting ready to get packed. She sees a kitty cat,
innocent little kitty
cat. Which we also find out that the killer seems to be he has to be a sociopath with how he's able to throw his voice the way he does.
I think either that or a very good stand-up comedian. Because he's doing impersonations likes of which only the best comedians in the world can do.
Right.
And if this killing teenage girls thing doesn't work out for him, I think he has a future career in stand-up comedy. I'm just going to say it right now.
He might want to refine some of his jokes, though. Anyway.
They wouldn't fit in 2020. You can't put that on Comedy Central.
Right, but anyway, so she goes up to the closet when we get our first kill. And I don't know, was this supposed to be a jump scare, him wrapping the plastic around her face?
So... This is what I say also when I mean that this movie establishes tropes, but it's establishing them. So one thing is, she's in the room and she hears a voice. And first she's like, okay, is that the cat? But then she's like, she keeps saying, who is that? Who is that? You know someone's there. You just keep walking towards it saying, who is that? Who is that? And it's not really a jump scare because...
I mean, we did see
she
him
just walks there and he just jumps out and gets her.
I mean, to be honest with you, we did see him as she turns around, walking the pile of clothes. You see what looks like his face, but you don't really know anyone's there until you see his hand kind of push up against plastic.
Yeah, and we know he's there. She doesn't know, but there's one thing this movie does not do, which I appreciate, is that there's not too many false scares. This movie's basically like, okay, it plays on the fact that we know she's in trouble, but the character doesn't know. So the terror is still there because the character is scared and doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And that's enough to actually get us invested and be like, okay, I know he's in the closet, but maybe show at the last second to walk out the room or something.
Especially since we've established she is a nice character. Where honestly, I guarantee a lot of people expected her to be the main character with her interaction with Barb in the beginning.
Well, this comes to mind why I told my ex-girlfriend once back who was not into horror movies at all and asked me once, what was the purpose of horror movies? Like, why does anybody watch them? And I had two answers. The first thing was like, well, it's like going on a roller coaster. You get kind of adrenaline rush thrills, but you're not actually in danger. Less so the roller coasters, you're actually really not in physical danger, but you still get to be scared and stuff, right? But the second point, which applies here, I was like, well, if you watch a lot of horror movies, your brain gets prepped for certain things. And then if you end up in a horror movie situation, you're a little bit better prepared to handle it than if you hadn't seen horror movies. For example, if you've seen all the Friday 13 movies, you've seen a bunch of 80s slasher movies, you go camping, when you're sitting by the campfire, you hear something in the woods, maybe the innocent person who's seen horror movies is like, oh, let's go investigate. But you're like, whoa, I've seen this in a bunch of horror movies. I think we should maybe not split up and go walk in the woods. Basically, you're better prepared to handle situations if they actually happen to you. Someone like Claire, who clearly is living in a bubble, probably a sheltered life, lovely parents, upper middle class upbringing. Yeah, she hears a sound in the closet. She's just like, who's there? Who is that? She's not well prepared to handle the situation.
And we find out she really wasn't, because she didn't put up that much of a fight either.
She probably, until the second she died, thought that someone was just joking with her and was going to let her up.
Not with the terror on her face.
Well, yeah, in the last couple of seconds, she was like, wait a minute, I really can't breathe.
All right.
But I feel bad for her because she dies... And it's sort of an off-screen death, actually.
Well, yeah, but then you get everyone downstairs making so much noise. So if she even thought about banging on the ground or anything, no one would have heard it to begin with.
I mean, they're downstairs watching Charlie Brown's Christmas, probably, so they don't. But the point is, too, is also they show her dead body, and then she's like rocking in a chair or whatever like that, and they got the thing over her face that she was suffocated in, and you can see her face though still like mouth wide open, scared to death, they said. But just showing her dead body creeped me out and got me feeling a certain way, because normally in the slasher movies they don't give enough to basically. It's always cheesy when they show the dead body, like it's. Like Jason hung a body from a tree or some cheesy shit. Some
fun for the audience.
Yeah, this was just like, oh man, I don't want to see her dead like that. Like her facial expression and her just sitting there. And they keep cutting back to that throughout the movie, and it's like, in a way, it's like it's scarier than a jump scare, because it's just like, and
not only
poor
that,
Claire.
But he also plays with the body, which is even weirder. Again, we only get POVs of this guy, and every single time we are literally seeing his view of him pretty much just playing with the body. So it's the movie's trying to make us the killer at that point.
Plays with the body. He looks out the window. I like to think he has some board games, something up in the attic to keep him entertained.
Waiting for the next victim.
He's in there for a long time. I got some questions about, hey, does he got some Cheetos up there, some snacks, some food, some water? He's in that
That's
attic
probably why he
all
keeps the
day.
girl. He's probably eating her for all we know.
Well, it's got to be from her toes up then, because we see her upper body's
Right.
maintained. But
I mean,
yeah, I think between the prank calls, I think he was calling Domino's Pizza and be like, listen, can you get it to the attic without somehow? can you climb a ladder to the top with
What
the
is
pizza?
with you and Domino's?
I mean, I could say Papa John's, but Domino's is more affordable, better prices. Maybe not as good, but not far off.
I've been doing Pizza Hut lately.
I did the pan pizza. It was good, but expensive as shit, and I can never do it
From
again.
Domino's?
No, from Pizza Hut.
Oh, no, Domino's has a pretty good pan pizza too.
Yeah, but they only have a medium size.
Oh, yeah.
What can you do with a medium pizza?
Well, you're supposed to eat it.
Yeah, one person can eat medium, but if you have one of the purposes of pizza is that you're supposed to be able to serve at least 2-3 people with a pizza. One medium pizza doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just wondering. The dude's up in the attic the whole movie. Like, can we get him? Can someone bring him a glass of water or something?
Well, it was a small town. Was there even a Domino's?
I don't know. It probably is something like local.
The
like
search party was probably the entire town.
It's probably a local spot called like Ramona's or something like that.
Anyway, so
you know.
another thing we find out throughout this whole opening scene, because it's not even Christmas Day yet. It's still Christmas Eve at this point. So the next thing is we find out that sorority mother, she hides her liquors so many damn places. Bibles. She hid one in the damn toilet bowl.
You see, there was a rat there too.
Yes.
Yo, she is a raging alcoholic in this movie.
She's hilarious though.
Her character alone. So I'm already liking the female character, the teen characters, because they seem realistic. But she adds a
You
whole.
just like that they were beautiful.
No, the only one that I thought was really attractive was the main girl.
They definitely wanted to make sure. What was it some directors say? They don't want models. They want somewhat attractive girls.
Well, every director of all the Friday 13 movies definitely ignored that. They definitely didn't get hired on based on their acting ability in those movies.
Oh, right.
Or any 80s slasher movie for the most part. But the alcoholic old lady, fun character, dug her.
Especially with the father of Claire.
When the father Claire comes around, again, this is like the minor details that elevates us beyond most slashers. I like that the father is suspect already about where his daughter is.
Suspect about where his daughter is. He's also in a good majority of the movie itself as well.
Yeah, and also he's the father-daughter, but he's like heavily involved with everything because even if his daughter's gone, it's like he wants to know everything that's going on in the entire situation, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's realistic. All these times we see these faceless characters die in slasher movies, you never get the reaction of the parents and the family life.
To be honest, I kind of wish the father was somehow a part of the ending. Like maybe he goes into the house and possibly saves the main girl, but dies in the process. But
would have been nice redemption for him for sure.
There is actually a few things in this movie I would have liked to see, but we didn't get.
Yeah, but
at the same time, it was still a well executed movie at the end of the day.
This movie's not here to give one of the benefits of being from the 70s and not like tropes like that. With tropes, you get a lot of fan service in these movies, where they're like, oh, the people are gonna love this scene so much. This movie has nothing where it's like, oh yeah, the audience is gonna love this. It's just doing its own thing, and how you react is how you react. So there's no fan service.
Well, even if fan service was the thing at that time, this movie was not going for it.
No, not at all.
They wanted you to be uncomfortable. It was literally, they wanted you to feel the same uncomfortableness about almost any other, like how a horror movie should probably make you feel, especially like maybe movies like Last House on the Left. A lot of people were so uncomfortable with that, they banned that damn movie.
Well, there's something about he's in the house the whole movie. Mm-hmm. So it's like really any scene they're in the house, theoretically they're not safe. So there's always this like underlying feeling of dread there. But yeah, Claire's dad and what's the alcoholic woman's name though? I don't know what her name is, but
I just call her sorority mother or den mother.
Sorority mother, basically, we'll just say that. They're like they do a good job there of adding a little bit of comedic relief, but not over the top.
Right, especially like when the father first steps into the building, he's sitting there talking to her, and she's sitting there holding her hand over her thing because she found out the father really originally expected this place to be respectable in his eyes.
I love it. It's so realistic. He's like, I didn't send my daughter here to pick up boys and do drugs and stuff like that. It's like,
which is another thing is that must be a shitty way to meet your daughter's boyfriend.
Yes.
Oh my-
awkward, very awkward.
And then here comes the big revelation of Jess to Peter that she is now pregnant.
Peter he's a musical something.
He's a musical student.
And he's been that for 7 years, apparently, he says.
Well, I mean, obviously he sucks at it.
Well, he's planning a career in that. So, I mean, hopefully 7 years worth of work has got him to a place where he's a professional, but maybe not.
Well, actually, they did. What I saw was she went up to him and said, as they were talking, she finally comes out and says, "I'm pregnant." He gets all happy and excited. He's like, "Oh, we're going to have a kid." And she goes, "Yeah, I'm getting an abortion." And you can just see his face just drop. Like, the
greatest news ever to what the hell is going on?
Precisely. And to be honest, until we 100% find out her reasoning behind it, I was honestly like, well, are you at least going to talk to the guy?
She basically made up her mind, and I think the disconnect was that she thought he was going to be on board right away with the idea of an abortion. I think, and knowing we find out later in the movie, I think that when she tells him this, he's to me like, wow. I think he's like so in love with her that he's like, wow, this secures me and her for the long term.
Or another thing is
he's trying to trap her. So
this guy this guy can be pretty controlling, because when she went to tell him, she was extremely nervous about it to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And honestly, every single time they were together, it just felt extremely awkward. Even the conversation before her telling him she was pregnant.
Well, they never make a joint decision. They both come into each thing with their mind made up, and then I'm just going to have this person react to me versus us having a discussion about it.
Right, and in my opinion, I'm completely fine with her decision, especially after we find out exactly why. But at the same time, the fact that she just lays it out there, he even goes, "Well, can we at least talk about this?" And she goes, "Nope, made up my mind." It's like, well, considering the fact that this is my kid and you're not telling me what's going on.
That could have been kind of two scenes. It was a lot for one scene.
Right.
But again, this is why it's not a typical slash movie. The fact that we're dealing with this storyline, which is pretty serious. This could be the main storyline in an actual dramatic movie. Mm-hmm. It's a nice character building thing, and I always think back to the dumbass Friday 13th Part 3 where, the girl casually mentions that she's pregnant and then we never hear about it again. But I thought that was a good character. Like I said, these are actually real people. They're about to go through some shit, but they got real issues going on in their day-to-day life, basically.
Well, correction, she's about to go through some shit. He's just going to have a mental breakdown.
No, I'm not giving away an ending yet. He's about to go through some shit too, but we'll get to that.
Anyway, so now we get the second call, and this is actually the start of pretty much getting the killer's backstory. Now you're hearing, instead of just the killer's voice, you're hearing two voices, and all I could make out really was the words Billy and Agnes.
Let's just call the killer Billy. We might as well call him Billy. I think that's what
his
most people call him is Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly we're dealing with somebody who's mentally not there. Schizophrenic, maybe.
Most likely broke out of a mental institution that we don't know about.
Even maybe has Tourette's. So there's a lot of stuff going on there.
That's another thing I love about this movie. Besides the small backstory, if you piece together the phone calls, you don't know anything about the killer. You don't ever even see his face throughout the whole movie.
If we think about the backstory, we know he's been calling, right? Mm-hmm. So he's been calling, building it up. And he's finally like, you know what? I'm actually going to go hide in the house. You could have prequelized basically just him calling and thinking about it, but I like the movie starts right there. But you can imagine, like, for months or weeks prior to this, he's been, like, planning this out and making the calls. And finally was like, I got to get to the house. But
it also seems like he did not ever actually say anything until now because, like I said, the girl called him the moaner.
Yeah.
So it tells us that he has never said a single word until now.
It's so funny. Like, literally, like, the day before I was watching When a Stranger Calls. And, man, they take so much of that from this movie. Both the phone call, the obscene phone calls, and then, of course, the biggest thing is the killer in the house. The killer in the house thing, though, that was also like, that's like the ultimate urban legend.
Right.
That's the whole babysitter urban legend, basically. Mm-hmm. And you got to wonder, like, does that predate this, or does this establish that? Because they're kind of in the same mold, I think.
So. Most likely the story came first, and the author pretty much just liked the story so much he decided to make a whole story. Because also think about how terrifying that would be, finding out that there's someone in your house that's not supposed to be there. Oh shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in the days back then without caller ID and without a phone call, really was some mysterious shit, because you couldn't just look at your phone and be like, oh yeah, Bobby down the street. Yeah, I got your mother. Like, yeah. Fun fact on that. After the movie Scream came out, Like before Scream, it was something like 20% of U.S. households had caller ID on their phones. Within a year after the movie came out, it was up to 65% of households had caller ID.
Well, think about
that movie inspired everybody to be like, yo, I got to know who's calling my house.
Right.
And I could see why.
Right, but one thing I will say about When a Stranger Calls, because I've only seen the remake, one thing I will say is Lance Henriksen in the remake does a pretty good voice. Which is funny because it's Tommy Flanagan who plays the physical killer, but it's Lance Henriksen's voice.
You know, you guys see the original because one thing is like the original, the whole remake is basically the first 10 minutes of the original. The first 10 minutes of the original is the girl in the house basically, but that ends and then we cut like 5 years later. It's like a whole different story. So it's very interesting. So far in this movie right now, we have really a slow build. You have death scenes, but they're very spaced out. They're not one after the other. The movie's really not showcasing death scenes in a way where it'll take like, it wants to visually show you death scenes. It's just like a part of this is to advance the story, which is awesome. Slow build, a lot of dread. Digging it so far.
Next thing we'd be at is Peter pretty much really badly playing the piano.
Well, this goes back to our theory. Does he just suck at his thing that he's been doing for 7 years?
He sucks at it.
He's supposed to, after 10,000 hours, you're supposed to be a master.
That, or maybe because he got the news about Jess. Maybe he just got nervous, got pissed off over the whole thing. So then just started banging on the damn piano. Because at first it sounded okay, and then all of a sudden it just turned to something chaotic. Yes. Which kind of is a progression of this character throughout the movie. How he goes from being completely calm to all of a sudden a chaotic individual.
Yeah, and let's talk about the marriage proposal.
Oh, what proposal?
If we'll want to call it that, basically.
We're getting married.
Well, no. First, I'm quitting my lifelong pursuit to be a musician, and we're getting married. Now, maybe what I'm thinking about now, as he brought up, maybe he realized that he's not going to make it as a musician, and this was Plan B. Was like, hey, I'm not good enough to do this, so I can at least marry this girl and have a kid with her. Maybe that was in his mind, but she puts the kibosh on that pretty quickly with like, hey, you know, you have your plans to be a musician, I have my plans, we can't do it. And he won't let it go. He's like, hey, whatever you want to do with your life, you can do it while we're married. Nothing's going to change. So she flat out has to come out and really lay the smack down and say straight up, I don't want to marry you. And I think his whole world sinks from his face as she says that. Everything he's been dreaming about and thinking about just completely starts to slip away from his whole life. Basically.
Which I'll definitely say about this movie is there's times...
Imagine a girl you love telling you that. I don't want to marry you.
There's times...
I would have been like, you mean this year?
No, there's times in this movie where you can tell these actors and actresses are not accustomed to being acting, because there's some scenes where you can tell they're not used to acting. Then there's scenes where they knock it out of the park, like with Peter getting that news. Yeah. You could see in his face the dread just going down.
His whole plan. And if you go with my theory that, hey, he doesn't think too much of his prospects to actually become a successful musician. So this was his thing that he had on the side, was like, hey, that doesn't work out, I still have the girl. But I think that sends a message to him like, hey, like, she doesn't want to be with me long term. And I think they don't come out and say it, but to me, like, that's almost like the end of the relationship.
Yeah, the minute if I asked my wife to marry me, if she said I don't want to marry you, I'd be like, well, then have a good day. I'm going to find me another woman.
Yeah, because
I'm not about to continue the relationship.
She said two things. She said, I don't want to have a kid with you. I don't want to marry you. And she kind of flat out said, like, you have your musician thing, I have my things I want to do. Just her saying that laid it out like we have different futures. Like, so I think that probably as he now starts to become our main suspect, from the character's perspective, you can see where, hey, maybe this drives him over the edge, but the murders have already been happening.
Right. We already had, I don't know, did the sorority mother die before he got that news? Or either way, one murder has happened before.
Well, we know Claire's been killed.
Yeah.
The point is, from her perspective, she can come up with a motive for him in her mind. If someone's like, Peter's trying to kill me, she can be like, oh, I did just crush all his hopes and dreams and I won't have his baby. Maybe he is trying to kill me. She can now justify that in her mind when it's brought to her that he's the suspect, which they tell her like, hey, that's our suspect. So
now, also, I just gotta say something. The cop Nash, really before we meet John Saxon, the first cop we meet, Nash, he's an asshole.
Yep.
2, he's an idiot.
Yep.
Like, why would you, on a daily basis, sit there, of course, ask a girl, okay, what's your phone number so we can reach you? And Barb literally goes, Felicia. And he literally takes it as true. You're taking a drunk woman, because she's been drinking.
Yep.
What we find out about Barb later is she is guilty about Claire missing. She feels like she drove Claire almost over the edge to either be dead or ran away.
She does.
So the fact that but still, you're a cop. You can tell that this woman has been drinking. She is drunk. She's slurring her words already. She was drinking. She literally gave a kid alcohol.
You know, you would prefer someone to be a competent asshole, but nothing worse than an asshole who's also an idiot too. And you know, this didn't start the trope, but it continues the trend of there's always a useless cop in every horror movie who does nothing to help and only actually serves to make things worse.
Right, because, I mean, the entire movie, until we finally meet John Saxons, the entire movie, we have to deal with this cop who takes everything at literally salt. Because I'm guessing he gets this a lot. He gets pranks a lot. But most pranksters do not come into the police station with worry on their faces and actual urgency to be like, hey, this person's missing. We need a missing persons report.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah. And we have essentially the entire town is basically getting in on the search party and looking for Claire, and everybody's involved now, and Jess is involved, and
that's when we get our second kill.
So the alcoholic sister, mother, whatever you want to call her, sorority mother. You know, sometimes in horror movies, and this happens a lot, is, you know, you just stayed too long.
Right.
You were this close to getting away. This goes back to even when we were talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar and I Don't Know What You Did Last Summer. Sometimes you're this close to your freedom and it just doesn't work out. In this case, literally, the cab driver's outside waiting for her.
Honking his horn.
She's packing her bags. She's good to go. She's walking out the house.
Meow.
Here's the damn cat.
Yep. And what's bad is that's not even her cat she's hearing. That is Billy.
Yeah.
Billy is meowing at her.
Now, listen. Your cab driver's outside. Your bags are packed.
You gotta look for that cat, though. You can't leave. No man. Pussy left behind, man.
No, this is why I don't have an animal. Because don't let me be attached to an animal to the point where I end up dying because the killer's making a damn cat noise. I'm like, oh, my cat.
But to be honest, this has to be one of the better kill scenes, even though we don't see it except for the aftermath.
Oh, wait. Okay. Here's the thing. She slowly makes her way up to the attic the whole time, calling for the cat and whatever. The way she dies, this is some Home Alone booby trap shit, though.
Oh, with the damn pulley hook?
This worked out way too perfect for Billy, all right?
Well, he meant for it to. Literally, he was sitting there waiting. He kept meowing at her.
She had to be in the exact right position. She had to stay there.
That's why he didn't let it go right away.
Okay, wait. She, looking around the attic, she sees Claire's dead body. She takes about 2 minutes to sit there and assess, allowing Billy to set up his little booby trap hook thing. She could have easily that whole time. It's like, oh, I'm out of here. But she takes 3 minutes to be like, maybe I might be in trouble. Should I go down the stairs? Should I stay here? Should I turn around? Should I let the killer prepare and kill me right now? I'm going to go ahead and let the killer prepare and kill me right now.
Well, he's already prepared. He just needs her to turn around so he can get it done.
And she does the slow turnaround. He's like, you're on price. Well, he's like some game show host thing, and just boom. The price is wrong.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Billy, you out there?
I just heard something bang over that.
Billy over there like, why are you dissing my booby trap? You know how much work I put in that?
Right. I mean, it really is a booby trap. He called a woman.
It's off screen though. The hook comes towards her and we get the off screen, but we do get her gagging to a point of like uncomfortableness.
And we do eventually see the actual body just hanging there still.
Yeah.
With the hook in her damn face.
As Billy continues to set up his museum in the attic of dead bodies.
Which at this point, does he have like a temper tantrum? He literally just starts throwing things, screaming, yelling.
Yeah, he's mad because I think that
everyone left.
There's no one else in the house, yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, the thing that I wanted to bring up too was like, again, with Billy, he wasn't like, she could have walked out the house and left and got in the cab. He wasn't coming out of the act to kill her. This is the most patient killer ever. Does he only Does he have a plan? Is he only going to kill if you come to the attic? He's not initiating these kills.
Well, he didn't kill Claire in the attic.
That was one where he clearly was like hiding in the closet.
Hell,
I get that.
I think
but the sorority mother,
she was the only one who gets killed in the attic. Everyone else dies throughout the house.
Yeah, but my point is though, she's in the house the entire time, and he never comes out the attic to kill her. And in fact, she could have easily left the house and just went about her business and got in the cab.
Yeah, but
now he lured her in with the cat noises.
Yeah.
But she could have easily been like, who needs the cat anyway?
So after that, we then get, technically it's a death, though I don't know if you really want to count it if anyone does a kill count, because we never see this character. We never see her die. We just only hear about her. But the search party finds the little girl.
You know the way they filmed that, you know what I thought happened? Because they filmed a way where they showed the dead bodies in the attic, right? And then they showed, you heard a scream, and they cut to characters in the park who found the little girl. I thought they were looking inside the window and saw the dead bodies in the attic. Because they filmed that in a way where they made you actually think that. And then they had the father come, Claire's father come, and he looks and he's like, oh my God. And then the mother comes and same thing. I thought someone had looked in the attic and saw the dead bodies.
They were looking down.
No, but they could have been standing on a mountain. Or they're standing on top of a hill.
Oh my gosh.
The thing with the attic is they show from the outside the house that Claire's dead body is very visible in the window if anybody chooses to look up there. I thought they climbed up a hill. Who knows? But what I'm saying is that they filmed in a way where it looked like that's what happened.
They were looking down.
From a mountain. If you look down from the hill.
You're just trying to come up with reasons now.
No, but look, I'm telling you, they filmed in a way where they made it not so obvious. I'm telling you. Go back and see how they filmed it. They cut from the bodies to somebody screaming and looking at. So anyway,
now we get the third.
Climb Mount Everest. That's all.
Now we get the third phone call, which I pretty much have written down as pretty much pain, rasping, and screaming, while the words "please stop" in a female voice. Now, to be honest, I thought that was like another character being killed, but to be honest, I think that was actually Billy with his little sister's voice as Billy's killing her.
Yes, Billy has extreme voice manipulation. He can do a lot of things with his voice. That's why I brought up him being a stand-up comedian, because this dude can do cut to like, he was almost like the character in the movie Split, the Shyamalan movie, where he can just go in and out of different characters, it seems like. So.
Now, and there is another thing I needed to ask. We've already talked about the scene with Peter and Jess, but how the fuck did Peter get inside the house?
When she comes home, he's upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
And he comes down, and this is actually probably this is the marriage proposal, I think.
Right.
Okay, so how did he get in the house? I don't know. I mean, maybe these are, well, I was gonna say maybe there's type of neighborhoods in back in the 70s where they left the door open, but seeing that there's a girl missing, she would think she would lock the door.
But another thing we forgot to establish is that door is broken.
Yes.
On 2 separate occasions, we see that the sorority mother cannot open the door from the outside.
But that was no obstacle for Peter.
Exactly.
So
was the back door unlocked? And also, why in the world are people leaving their fucking houses unlocked right now? Especially now that, well, granted, at this point, they don't know that they found the little girl dead. And
by the way, we'll have to come back to this because Peter's in the house there, but later in the movie, he comes to the house and he has to get in by breaking a window. And
right.
So this is not going to add up later on, right? But okay, for this purposes, let's just say that they're super close that she gave him a key. Sometimes a girlfriend will give the boyfriend the key to the sorority house.
Yeah, but she didn't. If that was the case, which can, again, be understandable, she didn't take the key away from him. Why the hell did he have to break a window?
No, I know. We're going to bring that up later. That was my point. It's not going to make sense later on. But by the way, also, why is he creeping in the house like he came down all creepily? And
well, he was just sleeping. He said he slept in her bed.
Oh, my God. He didn't hear Billy up there doing cat calls and cat noises?
Nope.
I would have just... They might as well just had a death scene and had Billy kill him right now.
But, right.
But, yeah, I mean, listen, I get that, but he still walked down the stairs before announcing himself.
Right.
That's just being a creep. Right?
And now we're also getting the fact that the civilians are making the connection that there's a girl missing and this house is getting harassing phone calls.
Yeah, it doesn't take a geometry major to put this equation together, but
remember, everything was going to Nash anyway. Nash wasn't even giving it to John Saxon's character to put it together.
Thank goodness we have John Saxon. the voice of reason amongst the cops.
Hell, the guy who had in the credits literally known as Laughing Cop, the other detective in there, he seemed to have a better chance of doing the job.
Yeah, I agree. And so,
I mean, granted, because we only see him laughing once with the fellatio joke.
That's true. So because John Saxon actually is a decent cop, he's like, hey, they're getting obscene phone calls. There's a girl missing. There's something here that's worthy of an investigation because, yes, we could be driving down the streets giving pointless parking tickets and speeding tickets, or we could figure out what's going on here. And maybe we should start tracing phone calls, which this movie goes into a lot of detail.
Oh yeah,
process.
This is probably the only movie I have seen that goes into this process. I mean, they may have just needed it to pan the running time a little bit.
Yeah, but think about let's say in today's 2020, right? Tracing a phone call.
I mean, that's easy. Anyone can do it nowadays.
Yeah, the phone company would probably just do it in like 2 minutes, right? What they showed in this movie back then was like a very manual process of a guy in a factory, a phone factory or some shit, having to go and figure out this is from this noise, from this one, from this one, from that one. Very manually do it. And I thought it was cool that they showed them they didn't have to go to the detail of showing that, they did. I thought that was very cool.
And then somehow, for some reason, even though we were never introduced to this until now, Barb has asthma.
Well, hey, I mean, listen, asthma is about 40% of the country, and about 35% of the country are susceptible and victims of asthma. And Barbara happens to be one of them.
Which is fine, but to be honest with you, when it first started happening, because of how much she actually had to drink, I thought she was fucking trying to tell Jess to roll her over because she was choking on her own vomit. Still, I honestly, instead of just giving us that BS that she has asthma halfway through the movie, they should have just went ahead and did it with that because we see her drink so much that she has to pass out.
But that said, Barbara's the character that we all got a feeling she's probably going to die, and now we come to her death scene.
Well, I mean, yeah, her death scene, one, gets the most iconic shot in the whole movie with the killer over her, and all you see is just his eye while he's holding the damn crystalline unicorn over his head.
And she predicted this because she had a nightmare previously that kind of was maybe actually not a nightmare at all in real life.
Yeah, she was probably just groggy and thought it was a nightmare, but what she actually saw. And then the part that now Vic is very afraid of carolers.
Oh my god, yes.
Is the carolers are singing to Jess while Barb is being stabbed and screaming and Jess hears nothing.
Yeah, this movie does a great job. I told you about at the beginning how you have the Christmas decorations, but you also have the Christmas carols. And the caroling, I feel like for me, I always hear in the background of like multiple scenes of the movie, but in the case of Barbara's death, we get actual Christmas carolers, which again reminds you that, hey, this movie's called Black Christmas. All this shit's going down, but somewhere in the world during this movie, someone's having a holly jolly Christmas.
Right.
Just not these characters.
Oh, no.
And definitely not Barbara.
Yep. And then we get our fourth call, which kind of knocks the suspect list down to really 2.
So basically at this point, the police are tracing the phone calls, and the first call they get, they try to trace it, but the problem is the call's not long enough and they can't do it.
Nope, and really we only get one line, which is not a backstory line, but is a taunting line towards Jess, pretty much stating something that Peter repeated to her earlier that day, which gives you one of 2 options. It's either Peter or it is somebody who's able to hear them.
Yes.
Which, to be honest, if it's the second one, you should probably be very freaking afraid.
Very afraid. The Peter's a suspect thing, it doesn't come as much surprise. Like, it doesn't really, when Jess is told about it, she's really not that thrown off or like emotionally conflicted. It feels like she's already mentally done with Peter. She's like, yeah, maybe he's the killer.
Right.
They could have done a better job of making her a little bit more sympathetic towards Peter.
Well,
she seems to basically just shit on him for the rest of the movie. So.
Well, to be honest with you, also, when talking to John Saxon and he asks her, has he ever been with you during one of these phone calls? She goes, actually, yes, the very first one.
That's true.
Which then she actually looks relieved that it's not Peter, with Phil saying, I mean, I never liked him anyway, but I couldn't see him ever harming a fly. Which we see about that piano that is a load of bogus.
Nah, that guy's got a dark side.
Oh, yeah, and he, like I said, this entire movie, we see him just disintegrate into chaos.
But they're still playing on the idea, which is fine, that we as the audience know that Peter's not the killer. But again, for the characters involved, it makes perfect sense that he's the killer. So we know something they don't know, and that's fine. It doesn't in any way hurt the suspense of the movie. Because we're still like, well, how's it going to play out? Is Peter going to get involved? Is he going to end up helping stop the killer?
But then, really, a lot of the rest of the ending's pretty much touch and go, because next thing we get is Phil going in to check on Barb, and door shuts behind her. Most likely, presumably, dead, but we haven't seen her body yet.
True.
So, and then we finally get our fifth call. A lot of screaming, a lot of Agnes, a lot of Billy. Pretty much putting together that it seems like Billy killed Agnes, and his mother keeps asking him, where is Agnes?
I think Billy drank like 4 Mountain Dews before he made this phone call. I see him getting more and more caffeined up. I'm just guessing the secret sauce for him is caffeine, because he clearly took a shot of Starbucks, espresso, something before he made this fifth phone call.
Right, because he was on that phone for what, 2-3 minutes?
He was going in. He was like, listen, I'm going to just tell you everything I feel about her.
Right, and then we get our shocking revelation. He's in the house.
The revelation I guess we already know that he's in the house. The point is, the trope of being in the house was so fresh and original back then, because it's one thing the killer's in the house, but he's actually making phone calls from the house.
Right. And then we get our fourth confirmed kill, and again, right now, everything's pretty much balls to the wall, not really. Because this climax to the movie, still a slow burn. That's what I liked about it. This movie decides to keep with suspense over picking up the pace.
True.
But then we get we have another death, which is a cop that was originally sent to protect the girls, and his throat is slit deep.
Now, when did Billy kill this cop, though? Because it's not like him to actually leave the damn house.
Right,
I think I'm gonna theorize right now. He finally got so hungry, and he couldn't figure out where to get that delivery to the attic. He finally was like, I'm gonna go out for a bite to eat. Went out for a bite to eat, and on the way back saw the cop and was like, this guy's gonna give me trouble later on. Slit the cop's throat. He went out for a bite to eat. I'm telling up theorizing right now. He went out for some pizza, some food, came back, because I just don't see him proactively just leaving the attic for the purpose of killing the cop in the front.
Well, how about we proactively try to figure out what in the world Jess was thinking when the cop finally tells her that the killer's in the house.
Well, let's talk about the cop telling her, because your boy Nash was given specific instructions to tell her, don't give her any information, just tell her to put the phone down and walk out the front door.
So, that man was stupid as shit.
He's a dumb asshole. The fact that he started out with the right thing, he was like, just put the phone down, walk slowly to the front door. But she asks questions, he can't seem to handle it because he loses his shit.
Right, he's like,
the killer's in the house! Get out now, run, go!
And I'm just sitting there like, are you kidding me? How did you become a cop? You would lose the chicken test.
Yeah, so Nash goes from useless to now literally people gonna die because of your being incompetent.
Right, so you mentioned this, she did something smart at first, and that's get to the door.
She has the right intention, go to the front door.
Call out first.
Barbara,
Phil. Hope, and if she didn't hear anybody, she should have just went out the damn door.
Well, listen, she's showing care for her friends because she's saying, if something is in the house, I want to warn them. From her mind, Barbara's upstairs sleeping. She wants to wake Barbara up and warn her. The problem is, when you get no response from Barbara or Phil,
especially Phil, because Phil is not a heavy sleeper.
Yeah,
we've already seen that in the scene where Barbara is having a fit, having an asthma attack. It wakes up Phil.
Yes. Now, you know that something's going on. Most likely, her gut instinct is that they're dead. You have two choices now. You can walk out that front door, or you can find a fire poker and slowly walk upstairs and confront the killer. Survival instinct.
Her survival instinct says
front door or fire poker.
Front door.
Front door.
The only time I would ever grab a fire poker is if the killer comes from the front. I open the front door and he's right there. I was like, oh, well, this ain't a good idea.
You find out the killer's in the house. The one advantage you have is she immediately looks upstairs. You're pretty sure the killer's not downstairs with you. He's upstairs. So he has to get down the stairs. You're already at the front door. You have an advantage. By the way, the cops told you this, so obviously they're on the way to the house most likely. Mm-hmm. Even Saxon says, I'll be there in 5 minutes. He doesn't tell her, but he says, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes.
Right.
Survival instinct. By the way, you were a good friend. You called their names. You did what you could. You didn't answer, they're on their own.
Exactly.
They're deep sleeping through this, they're on their own.
You know what they say about the Pirates Code in Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
No. Tell me.
When in doubt, run away. Yeah, the code literally is, if you're in trouble and your buddies are in trouble and you have a chance to get out and they don't, you leave. because then you can fight another day and get revenge.
So instead, she decides to be Sigourney Weaver or Linda Hamilton or all these badass girls from the 80s who would fight back. But you're in a horror movie, and have you?
And it ain't the 80s. You don't have no damn laser gun.
This is the 70s, and you don't know what to do with a fire poker. You probably having started a fire in your life. So.
Right. So now finally we get confirmed that Phil did die. She's beaten to death. It looks like.
Poor Phil.
Right. All she wanted to do was check on Barb.
And well, I want to say poor Barb, but she was a mean.
Remember, you can't rape a townie.
She was a mean person. She doesn't talk too much. So.
Right. So. Now we get pretty much, again, this is the climax. You expect a lot of people, I'm sure, and same here. I was expecting to see who this killer was. Was it someone we knew or was it just a random person? But we never even get that. All we get is literally his eye. She hits him and then runs. Which again, all we hear from him is extremely loud noises. We hear his heavy footsteps and we see his hand. We don't see anything else throughout the entire scene.
One thing that's always true about horror movies is that when you show the monster is no longer scary. The more you reveal, the less scary it is. If Billy was one of the characters we already knew, the ending loses all. If it is Peter, there's no horror anymore. It's all like just not scary anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty much just turned into a thriller at this point.
Yeah. So when the killer takes off the mask and reveals who it is, it's always like, okay, the horror part of the movie's over. Now they're gonna explain their background, all this dumb stuff. This is a movie you don't get none of that. You get just straight. We're going to keep it moving. Billy's just Billy. You know the voice, you see the eyes, but you're not getting anything else.
Yeah, pretty much. And
I think it was the right decision from the director's part. So.
Which then we get that whole suspenseful scene in the basement because you see somebody looking through the glass. And all you see is
I was thinking Jehovah's Witness.
Probably.
I mean, they're always at the most inappropriate.
Right,
times,
and
so.
all you see is the silhouette. You don't see any features.
Santa Claus.
Nope, too skinny.
Ho, 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 I tried the chimney, but...
But there was some crazy guy named Billy stopping me.
Hey, you're missing a fire poker.
Yeah, I gotta give you a citation for that fire poker because it's not there.
Where's my good friend Nash at? Yeah, so we have a mysterious person in the basement door. So.
Which then we find out is Peter, who most likely was, like the entire movie, across the street this whole time, freezing his ass off, by the way. And then he finally probably hears her screaming and decides, I'm going to find out what the hell's going on.
Now we go back to how he was magically in the house earlier in the movie.
Right.
But now he's got to break windows and shit to get in. Now he's got a breaking and entering.
Which, again, does not put yourself in a good light. This whole movie did not put Peter in a good light. I mean, to be honest with you, if he wasn't the killer, he was going to eventually become a killer.
Yeah.
So we already established he's not a good character in the first place.
One thing is that when she did go upstairs and find Phil and Barbara, killer chases her downstairs, tries the front door, can't open the front door, which is a horror trope now too. But as we said earlier, they established that the front door was not all quite working properly. Except
it was also established that door could actually open from the inside, not really the outside. So
still weird that she couldn't open it from the inside.
Right, unless Billy somehow locked the door beforehand. She just didn't think to unlock it.
So, well, that's, yeah, maybe.
I mean, they did show them locking all the windows and doors before Phil decided to go to sleep, so maybe she just forgot.
True. Well, either way, she should have never went upstairs in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
So in the basement, we got Peter breaking in and walking towards her, and
again, he's
acting very creepy. Yeah.
Creepy smile. He sees the girl cowering, and he's just like, "Hey, what's wrong, babe?" And then we cut to the cops.
Yeah. So the way Peter was acting, for all we know, Peter came over there to kill her. I don't know, maybe, but he wasn't acting right.
Oh, hell no.
And you could tell she was starting. She already, in my mind, she was already done with him. But now she's like, I think he's the killer.
Okay, to me, at that point, I don't think she thought anything. She just saw somebody who's a lot bigger than her coming for her.
Yeah.
With a creepy-ass smile, sees her cowering and doesn't even take the cue of, maybe I shouldn't be near her because she got a fucking fire poker.
So now we kind of cut to basically what's going to be one sort of twist ending-ish.
Peter dead.
The cops come, Peter dead, massacred basically, and she's sleeping with the body, sort of.
Yep, body's in his lap, which...
I thought they were both dead, but then she wakes up.
Oh, she never woke up. They just found her, she's still alive.
She opens her eyes, though.
And then went right back to sleep.
Yeah. Basically, she's there, but she's not there.
Yeah,
she opened her eyes slightly to establish that she's alive, but then
pretty much the whole event and the traumatic experience just took all of her energy away.
So they don't know what happened.
Not yet.
But they put together in their minds that
Peter was the killer
and that she killed him.
Yep.
Now, in my mind, first watching it, I thought what happened was that the killer came down from the attic wherever he was, killed Peter, but then for some reason left her alive because he wants someone to call later on. But the cops just immediately jump on, Peter's the killer, she killed him, everything's okay now. Killer's dead, Peter's dead.
So,
and when the cops makes a line, he says, I always knew I had a feeling it was that kid.
Right. So I just want to say I hate this ending for multiple reasons. So I'm completely fine that Billy is still alive. I'm fine with Billy getting away. What I'm not fine with is the shoddy police work that was done at the ending. This whole movie, John Saxon has been methodical, has been tactical about everything he's done to make sure that this case is solved. Yet, at the end, the girl's not waking up. Okay, why would you not put her on a gurney and have her escorted to the nearest hospital?
Yes.
Instead of leaving her in the house that is a crime scene, and then you don't even do a full sweep of the house because there's still those 2 bodies in the attic where we find out is where Billy still is.
Hey, look, those bodies may still be in the attic right now in 2020 because they made it seem like no one's ever going to find those damn bodies.
Right.
So it's interesting, you're right, because, yeah, would you keep her at the house, basically? The crime is solved, but not 100% solved, so you don't know for sure.
And also, you don't exactly 100% know why she's unconscious. It could be, the stress and everything just took her energy away. She could have gotten a head injury.
There was sort of a doctor-type person there, so he was, like, given the diagnosis of she's going to be asleep for at least 4 hours, and then he's like, okay, well, her parents are coming. But he does say specifically, someone says I'll stay with her basically until the parents come.
Right.
So, yeah, a little bit odd, and for story purposes, I guess she's sleeping in her bed. They assume that Peter was the killer, but then the one dude passes out, and they got to get him to the hospital. So everybody apparently leaves, turns off all the lights in the house, and they all roll out basically, leaving her in the bed.
I seriously hope they did not leave Nash to protect her, or she's fucked.
Well, so I didn't even know. At this point, we don't know anybody's there. We hear everybody leave the house, and then we do our POV shots now, which is going to slowly take us from room to room, and then finally to the attic where we hear the sounds of Billy up there playing chess with himself, whatever he's doing. So.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we end, and then credits roll throughout the entirety of the phone ringing.
Well, we see a cop on the porch.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for that. At least they didn't all leave. They followed Saxon's orders a little bit, and there was a cop there smoking a cigarette. But we hear the cop with the phone ringing, and it's very open-ended. But my takeaway from the ending was that why I don't think Billy was going to kill her is because Billy wants someone in the house to answer his phone calls. His big thing, yes, he does like killing people on the side, but his main thing is the phone calls. That's his juice, is the phone calls. So I think for him being in the attic, it's just like he's gonna keep calling. So I think she'd be alright because, theoretically the cop's gonna go back in and answer the phone, and then like, "Hey, Billy, is that you?"
And then most likely, either the cop got her out, or the cop's dead, and Jess is dead.
I don't see Billy attacking the cop.
He's already attacked one.
Yeah, but that dude was probably eating Dunkin' Donuts in his car, listening to the radio, and then got a surprise attack. But maybe, who knows? But either way, the point is, I don't think Billy wants to kill Jess. I think he wants to taunt her and call her, and as long as he can do that, then I think he's satisfied. Either way, the bottom line is the killer got away. The killer's alive. Billy is probably in that attic right now, calling someone. I just hope that they found a way to get him some Domino's pizza in the attic, though, because the man's going to need some food for the ongoing basis. So.
Nah, he don't need no food. He's got corpses.
He's a human being. Oh, that's true.
Anyway, that is definitely Black Christmas, the good one.
Quick fun fact. Black Christmas from 1974, directed by Bob Clark, who went on to direct the actual Christmas classic, A Christmas Story. Same director that made Black Christmas made A Christmas Story.
No wonder that movie was pretty dark too.
You'll shoot your eye out with that thing.
Yeah, think about how many times they said they will shoot your eye out. And the kid almost did shoot his eye out.
But it goes to show that this was a good director because he went on to make a classic movie. So.
This is still a classic movie, in my opinion.
I agree. But Christmas Story is like the ultimate Christmas classic. Although I don't think it warrants being played on channels 24 hours a day on Christmas. That just makes the movie annoying. All right, let's get to our final overall thoughts. For me, having felt like I was watching for the first time as a first-time viewer almost because it's been so long since I've seen it, I was just extremely impressed with the stuff you normally don't see in horror movies, which is relatively smart characters, Nash aside. Smart characters, likable characters, realistic plot line, a killer who never loses the mystery or they never unmask the monster to where the killer is no longer scary. Up until the last frame, he's still scary, still mysterious, unpredictable. Like after watching, you would hope there was a sequel so you could find out more. But then you're like, oh, there's no sequel. So now it's even more left as more mysterious. There's no sequel to even tarnish this at all. All the tropes you get from horror movies now. Killer in the house, killer on the phone, slasher on a holiday, sorority girls, a group of girls being stalked. All of that is like influence and stemming from this movie. So it should get mad props. Even if like you watch it now and it wasn't your cup of tea, you can see how it originated some other movie that you like a lot. So you gotta give it props for that. So for me, I'm gonna go 3 stars. I definitely can't go less than 3 stars. So I'm gonna go 3 stars. Way above average. You should definitely check it out. It's entertaining, well made, well directed, well acted. Liked all the characters. Suspenseful, good score, good atmosphere. The death scenes are almost like in the background. But yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 stars. I could see myself now, not having watched a long time, I could see myself watching this movie more and more over the next like 10, 20 years.
So my overall thoughts is I definitely enjoyed this movie. It's definitely one of the better movies we've done so far. I enjoyed the...
Tremors. Can't believe you shit on Tremors, but anyway.
I will shit on everything, sir. Anyway, so I enjoyed the atmosphere of it. I enjoyed the fact that it actually took place during Christmas. Christmas is supposed to be a time of joy. It's a time of giving. And yet we get this very intense plot and very claustrophobic atmosphere because you're really just stuck in the house almost the entirety of the time. And I enjoy the characters. Each character felt like their own person. They weren't one-dimensional. Because almost every time, except for Claire, every character you get to learn a little bit more about them as the movie progresses. And one thing I definitely would put above in the movies is they really need a total of 3 things to make a good movie. You need the characterization, you need obviously kills as a slasher, and then you need the lore behind it, which we get. Again, if you pay attention to the phone calls, you get the lore, you get characterization almost every scene, whether it's kind of a side character like Claire's boyfriend or a main character like Jess, even a little bit with Billy. So you get everything you need for a good horror movie. And to be honest, I'm going to give this one a 3-star as well.
Oh, wow. This is the first time, I think. Well, have we given the same star rating for in the movies before? I don't think so.
No, this is my first 3 stars so far.
Okay. But I think we both might have gave Santa Slay like 2 stars though. No,
you
gave
that
a star and a half.
I was about to say.
Even when the movie's bad, you're still below me on the thing. So all right, this is our first we're on the same page basically. Like I said, I really feel like now having seen it, because I've heard about it in circles a lot, and now I can really say it's really actually underappreciated. It should be up there with like the Halloween. I think because there wasn't a franchise from it. There weren't sequels. But the OG, the first one, should be up there with like the same respect as like the Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser. Because there wasn't the sequels, it doesn't have that much of a following. But it should be up there like in everybody's like top 10, top 15 horror movies.
Well, to be completely honest with you, there's a lot of horror movies out there that got sequels that really didn't need them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies out there that didn't get sequels that could have went with them, could have expanded on everything, but also at the same time, it's a good thing they didn't, because most sequels tend to ruin the movies at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like, think about Halloween, think about all the sequels we get with that. They should have just left it with 1 and 2, in my opinion.
Well, again, like the strength of Billy is that Billy's not watered down as a killer because we don't have sequels that give backstory. He's not saturated. I mean, the first Halloween is so good that it's hard to water it down, but the character Michael Myers is oversaturated and is watered down because of all the sequels. Same thing with Jason, with Freddy. The more you see them, the more backstory you get. Definitely all the horror of it goes away.
Which is why the very first movie is usually the best one in the series.
Yeah, we know a little about Billy, and we're never going to know much about Billy, and that's going to keep him always mysterious and scary.
And that is also where I feel the 2006 remake definitely goes downhill, because you learn way too much.
Yeah, and it's important to know, like, when I said there's no franchise, yeah, there's no franchise. Don't treat the Black Christmas remakes as like one series that you have to watch all of them as a series. Don't do it. Don't do it yourself. Treat this as one separate entity and, you know, watch those separately, but don't think that they're like one trilogy or some shit.
No. And also, do not watch 2019 Black Christmas.
Nope.
Save your brain cells. Watch a better movie. Like this one. Please.
Yes, and now next week, folks. Well, you know.
Can you word right?
Well, I was gonna say next week is New Year's, so barring us finding a really good New Year's movie, barring that, we're gonna do No Holds Barred.
Did you really need to do that?
I had to do it. Pun intended. All right. So, anyways, we'll see you guys next week, and I'm off to put out the milk and cookies so Santa Claus can give me some great gifts, and I think Nick's gonna pray for a PS5, but he'll probably get a lump of coal. So
anyway, you all have a good night. Take care, and always remember,
Happy Holidays.
Exactly. Merry Christmas.
That's not what you were gonna say. You had something else to say.
Probably. I mean, I don't.
But you said always remember. They don't need to remember that, but
no, actually, better yet, always remember.